We are live. Okay. Calling this meeting to order. It is 6:01. All members are present other than Jerry, and maybe he'll be joining us here after a bit. So we have a lot to talk about today. I want to kind of keep us on topic and stuff as we move along. So just kind of keep that into consideration. I did not get the minutes from last month up to our Google Drive for you guys to look at, so we'll have to wait and approve those. Nancy did get those sent along to me, but I did not have time to get them up onto the Google Drive. So we'll motion to approve those in the next meeting. Casey, since you have to take off a little bit early, I figured we can go ahead and start with like the park program, any updates on that, how the first week's going, and then also we can kind of talk about the pool and how we're gonna kind of work through that process.
So I did have the opportunity to ask Morgan this morning how many kids were signed up. She said this is the highest it's been in a couple years. It's 135, which
Wow.
I think is awesome. I know a lot of people kind of last minute registered on, including myself, on Sunday and Monday. She only had 80 at that time. And so she was like, oh man, it's not going to be high enrollment, but we're up to 135. I talked to her briefly. And yesterday on the first day, they went over all the rules and expectations with the parkies that we had given them during interviews and things. My girls happily reported back to tell me just exactly what was said. So that was nice. And then I talked to her briefly this morning about water days and how it would be nice if I could let Duncan and the maintenance guy know so that chemicals are all right, if we could pick the same day every week. Mm-hmm. We counted up if there's potential for them to go this Friday and they went every Friday, it would be 7 total that they would get to go and utilize the pool. That seems high now that I'm saying that out loud. If they go this Friday, 1, 2, 3, 4, skipping that one, 5, 6, no, 7. So I personally think that's plenty. I don't think that they need to go more than that. We also talked about how we don't think that they need to go multiple times a week. 1 day a week is fine. I also talked to her about potentially having drop off and pick up at the school. That way we don't have to have a bus and we don't need a bus driver. I said that also will work out because, for the kids because like my kids don't come until 9. I said, you can set your check-in table up at the auxiliary doors. For those kids who come in at 8, they can go into the gym and play. That way you can have the counselors in there taking care of those kids. And then, 8:45 or so, you can go into the locker rooms, change. Then we only need to pay the lifeguards from 9 to 11. Everyone's out of the pool at 11. They go and change until parents get there. They can pick up and they can play in the gym. I said, and another thing is the great thing about it being at the school is if there are kids who don't feel comfortable in the water or don't want to go swimming, you station 2 or 3 counselors in the gym, both gyms or wherever out at the football field. They can run around, they can play kickball. They don't have to necessarily go swimming. That's the best part about it. I did recommend, since Addie, Reed, and Morgan were previous lifeguards, they just let their certification slip. I said it would probably be a good idea for the 3 of you to stay in the pool area on top of the lifeguards that we're going to pay. But I thought 2 hours for each lifeguard, that's not bad. And then the pool that they're lifeguarding at is the country club, and that opens at either 11 or noon. So really, we wouldn't have to take any from their schedule at the country club either. This will be extra. But I also think it'd be nice for them to know, okay, every Friday I'm lifeguarding from 9 to 11. And if we can get that into the schedule, I think that'd be great. The only potential hang up I see with not being able to do it this Friday is getting them down here to do the background check, the drug screening. So it might have to be pushed back to next Friday.
Yeah, we still have to get the liability insurance too. So we're getting the quote from Joanne. Right. I think we're looking at least next Friday. Hopefully at that point we can have everything lined up. And then, so we have the two, right? And we haven't talked
Yes,
to
and
another,
then the third kid that I'm about to ask, he's going to be a senior. His brother is the person who runs the country club. I was talking to a few of the counselors today, and they said that he would do it no problem. So
Okay.
I'm going to reach out to him as soon as I get a number from the Petersons. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, I also asked Morgan about employees and hours that they work so that we knew how that was going to go with the budget. She said she was going to go home and see at what dates the counselors had already given her so she could factor that out of how much they are getting paid. But she also said she doesn't know their hourly rate. She's not sure.
So Joanne and I both looked at the total that we have for the park program counselors, and I think
Oh,
I
okay.
guess that's not, yeah, that is here on this line item that Joanne left for us, the 19,500. We both think that we roughly spent all of that last year on just the park program employees. So we're probably going to end up having to take it from the park equipment and capital assets budget line,
Okay.
which most of that we bumped up this year for that bridge work, but we can get city council approval to pull from that account to pay for the lifeguards. And then, I mean, assuming the council would completely wholeheartedly agree of getting kids access to the pool. So then we can also write a grant for the community foundation and like back pay that and supplement it. That way we have some money there. So that'll be, next steps is basically going to the council at this next meeting, getting that approved, and then getting our quote for moving forward with the liability insurance as well. I'm guessing that'll also have to be pulled from that capital assets line.
How much is that going to be?
I have no ballpark number.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure.
Because I'm thinking lifeguards, especially if we cut out this Friday and start next Friday. I mean, we're only looking at $500-600.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a big number.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that all sounds great, and then I can keep you guys looped into that process as I learn more information.
The other thing that Morgan did ask me about, she reached out to the library with Silly Safari and one other thing that are coming to the library to do events, and she contacted them, and they are willing to also come down to the park and do something for them, but we will have to pay for that separately.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, like, one of the events was $200, one of the events was $300. Do I tell her that's okay or no?
So our line item here is $5,000 that we have budgeted.
Oh, cool. Sorry, didn't see that.
Yeah, previous year we spent $2,400.
Awesome.
So there's some flexibility there for them to pay for programming like that.
To be able to do that. Okay.
Yep.
Now, can we not take the lifeguard money out of that?
There's certain categories that Joanne said of why we can't take it out of other accounts and why we have to get approval.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it was a 400 level, so I'm not sure. Basically, it said what we'd have to do, because the assets are a 400 level and employees are 100 level, we have to get council approval. So I'm not sure which one, if the supplies is 400 or 100, but
okay.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all the updates that I have for park program in the 2 conversations that I've had with Morgan. And do you want me to still get that number to you for employees and hours, or were you guys able to do
Yeah, I think we're good.
We're
on
good?
That.
Okay.
Yeah, just because we're going to pull from a different budget line there.
So then I will, the other thing that was on Jerry's list, I'm sorry, I got to go back to that because he had a couple of things. Liability insurance. What's this formal application thing? Is that just through the school? Is that something that is a process? I mean, does anyone know what he's talking about when he says that?
I'm not sure.
We did identify which day of the week and how long it would be. I can contact the lifeguards tomorrow and let them know that we'd like to start next Friday. When is the council meeting to get this approved?
Next Monday, right? Yeah,
Okay, cool. Then I will just tell them that we'll start next Friday,
hopefully.
hopefully.
Depends on the liability insurance,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Oh, shoot, the insurance. Yes, that too.
Yeah.
Okay, we
yeah.
don't need the bus. And maintenance, we can take care of that. Cool. That's all I got.
Cool. Anything else from anybody else?
What was the hourly for the lifeguards again?
$12.50, and we'd be paying 3, right? Yeah, at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was, Morgan thought that sounded high to have 3 lifeguards. I said, I don't know. With us having 135 kids signed up, I feel like 3 is not even enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 130. I'm sure not everyone will go that day, but 130.
And I'm sure there will be kids who choose not to swim. I'm sure not everybody will go that day. But I would look for like 75 kids to be in that pool at once.
Mm-hmm.
25 kids, a lifeguard, and even that seems high. But you also have to remember we have Reed, Morgan,
Right.
and Addie who were lifeguards as well. So I think we can kind of get by with having 3 lifeguards because I know that sounds bad because they're not certified now, but they were, and they know what they're doing. And the Peterson gal and there was another one were on the swim team. So they're strong swimmers too.
So I think we can evaluate maybe even after like week 1 or 2 how it's going, and if we need to hire more lifeguards from another pool, then we can, because it is such a low cost thing that we're looking at here. So yeah, let's play that by ear, I think, and see
3 to start out
if
with.
130 are showing up for the first 2 weeks, maybe let's go ahead and get another 2.
I think water day, now that we're going to be able to use this pool, I think there's going to be a lot of kids that do show up, but then we might see if, everybody, I don't know. Different things happen during the summer. Not everybody's going to come. So.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else? All right. Twilight Music Series update. You want to give us an update on how that went, Nancy?
I thought it went very well. Michael counted like 52 people inside the pavilion at one time. And that included the
It was a great turnout.
people that did the vending too. But there was about 52 people inside. He counted, there was 8 to 10 golf carts outside watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it went very well. I mean,
Yeah,
I thought the music was pretty good. Everybody told me that the music was good, that they liked it. So I thought it went very well. My only thing, and even for the Park Avenue, I'm going to ask if James would play until 6:45, because the problem that I saw was that he played right to 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And they had to set up after he, was done. So it took them like 15, 20 minutes to set up. So I would, propose to him that he play 45 minutes instead of an hour
Mm-hmm.
and still pay him the $100. To do that.
Yep. I think that makes sense.
Okay. I can contact him and ask him then to do that.
Okay.
That's the only thing I saw. Anybody else see anything?
I was going to give that feedback too.
Okay, good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had my younger kids there, so we were having to take off right when the main act was starting.
They were
so I was like,
good.
man, I kind of wish the opening act didn't last so long, was my thought. But I thought he was very good.
Yeah.
And my kids enjoyed it, and of course, being able to play on the park too. The food was good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I felt like this turned out with a lot more people than what we had at the McDonald Park one. There were a lot of people commenting on that. I was kind of making my way around and just mingling with everybody. My husband doesn't love that, but it is what it is. And that was one thing that the mayor was saying, that he liked the fact that it was down there. There was more room for parking. People were driving their golf carts like right up to the pavilion and just kind of hanging out in there. The food was amazing. The second band, I like the first dive, don't get me wrong, but that second band, the main act, they were top notch. Like they were actually enjoyable. I wanted to sit and listen. It was also nice because the kids were so entertained. Like my kids were just out playing, and I was able to visit with people and do the things and eat. We had dinner down there. We totally made a night out of it. I also super duper loved the fact that there was no cleanup. Because
It really wasn't.
there were no tables, there were no
Afterwards,
chairs.
there wasn't, and
Yeah.
people put their trash up. There wasn't trash because I stayed near the
Yeah.
Yeah.
vendors, and there wasn't trash laying around. It was
It was phenomenal.
yeah. They had put chairs up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably my favorite part
Yeah.
because
Uh-huh.
we took off before the band was completely done, and Jerry was walking past me. I said, Jerry, getting ready to take off, take my kids home. I'm going to come back and help clean up. And he was like, there's not
What's
really.
the cleanup?
Yeah. He's like, what do we need to clean up? I said, well, good point. And so we enjoyed our time. Everybody enjoyed it. I felt like there was no need to rush and run around and do the things. I already have the next event up on Facebook.
Oh. I asked her to make these up for Paula Clark. Paula Clark was there, and she said if we would make up some flyers of some sort, she didn't want a full page thing, but if we make up some flyers of some sort, she would hand them out with tickets for the
Oh.
garden when they go to the garden
Yeah.
tour on
That's a
Saturday,
good idea.
so people would know that this is going on. I don't know if maybe at the alumni we could have some of these.
Honestly, that was my plan because
Okay,
I'm
all
going
right.
to that dinner.
Okay,
So
okay,
my
yeah.
plan was to kind of get out some more of those.
Okay, so she
And
made
I've
these up
already
for me.
told my whole crew that I'm going with, that we're going to be headed down to the park afterward. They don't have a choice.
Okay, all right.
Everybody's going to the park.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that one's going to have an even bigger turnout because they put it on the alumni page and I put it on our class's page. And so I think it'll be a nice turnout.
Okay.
I had an idea too. I invited my friend and her family to come, and beforehand she texted me and said, "Is there going to be face painting for kids by chance?" And that just gave me an idea. Is there like a certain protocol if I were to find someone to do face painting for kids to have set up there? Because it would just be someone set off to the side, and I feel like it would be another reason for families to bring their kids and to come.
Yeah. No, we have some flexibility, right, within the Twilight Music Series.
Well, even if
Nancy's-
it's someone that takes their we pay that person. Like
Yeah.
that, like the people who come pay the
Oh,
face
okay.
painter. Like we wouldn't even
Like a
have to pay
donation.
for it.
Yeah,
type of thing you
Yeah.
do.
Yes, like she charged like $20 for a face or whatever the
Mhm.
charge is. Like we wouldn't even have to pay her.
Sheesh, $20.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's $60 for me.
I don't know. When we were on spring break, we paid $20 for face
Well,
painting.
The
It's
whole,
missing the
yeah.
whole face,
Well, I
so-
mean, that's spring break.
But like $10, and that would just be something the face painter charges.
I don't-
Is
Yeah.
that something? Because I know my kids would love that.
My kids would totally love it.
I don't think we need any formal motion or anything on that.
Okay.
Since it's not using any of
So
her
if I
funds,
just find
I'm fine
someone
with.
who can do face
Yep.
painting,
Yeah,
and
that
then
works.
whatever they charge,
Mhm.
we won't pay them. The families will pay them, or
Yeah.
whoever kids are getting them done.
And listen, kids eat it up.
They
PTO
do.
does it
They
all
do.
the time. You have no idea how many faces I paint.
Mhm. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, cool. I'll put it out there then.
Awesome. Anything else with Twilight Music Series?
Mary was telling me that she missed. I think I talked to Nancy about this too, or maybe she talked to Nancy, but she missed the outdoor lights we have at McDonald Park.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if we ever had any alternative, like maybe put those lights up there or get new ones to put down there, especially when it starts to get darker.
Yeah, I like the ambiance that
Yeah.
that sets. A lot of people.
I'd be worried
comment
about
on that.
vandalism, like leaving them there, but
That's the only thing. Is
We
we'd
didn't
have
have
to,
enough lights in the pavilion. Actually, I had no lights in the pavilion. I put one light bulb in down by the stage so that they could see down there.
Uh-huh.
I came up and asked the city, and I sent a note to Eric,
Mhm.
and there wasn't any light bulbs put up. So I did have 5 of them in my vehicle if we needed them, but it didn't get dark. You know, actually
Yeah, no.
before.
Mhm.
So
I
I
just
don't
remember
know
that being
that.
something
I
we
don't
had
know
talked
that it was a
about.
problem, but I think that we may need a light bulb at least back where the vendor is, because it was getting dark back there for the vendors to pick up. So,
Okay.
I mean, if nothing else, I can put one back there. It's no problem, but there's no electricity back there either, so I need to figure that out.
Mhm.
But I've got it figured out. So
Yeah, I think we have enough money within our budget line here if we wanted to pursue that. Maybe if you want to get some price points, I guess, to the board,
yeah, I do that.
and then we can kind of move forward on that. Okay. Nothing with Twilight Music Series. Anything else? Good on that? Great.
did you have any comments on the Twilight Music? We just finished that.
No.
Okay. He was okay with it.
Came late, I'll be quiet.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I'm just running through a lot of old business here. Ellen, can you give us a bridge update?
So I shared this with Casey already, got a text from Bubba today. And when I talked to him after our last meeting, he said, we'll get started on the bridge, no problem. Well, then I got a text from him today saying he won't be able to move forward with the bridge. And the huge factor is not having half the payment up front. So I think he was relying on Destin Gates with his machinery to
Mhm.
move the I-beams, and they must have something since their friends set up on payment. So I think since he has to rent the machinery to move those I-beams, it's just not gonna be something he can do unless he has half the payment. We did reach out to Kaylee Carnahan and her husband, and he was going down today to give us a quote.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's something they can do to all the bridges, but she said they can maybe get the one done and that she would have a quote to me.
Okay.
But going forward, I asked him if we can somehow give him half the payment if he could move forward with it, and I haven't gotten a response yet. Because I know the city has certain rules, but since the money's already there, what's the problem with paying him half for him to be able to get his supplies and rent the machinery?
Yeah, I think that's just some sort of protocol within the
So
municipality that you just have
It's
to pay
state
afterwards.
protocol, so
Yeah.
there's no way around it, even though it's a donation.
So there is ways
of
around
money.
it. I think we could like go through Attica Main Street.
Okay,
Main Street pays them, and then we pay Main Street.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's ways if Bubba is able to get back with us, I think we can probably
okay.
figure something out if that's how it needs to happen.
Yeah, because I know those machines to rent are expensive, so I'm sure that's having
Especially if we get a quote back that's
higher.
higher than Bubba's,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
because we budgeted for that.
Mhm.
So if the Carnahans come back with a quote that's higher than Bubba's, then I think we really
Mhm.
should go the route that you just kind of talked about,
Mhm.
figuring that out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
so do you want me to reach out to Main Street, or what do you want
I
me?
can talk to Cindy
Okay.
and just see how that would work. And,
Yeah, 'cause he
or
was
talk to
really-
Joanne too.
Apologetic and like really wants to do the bridge, but I think it's now becoming a money issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Sounds good. Pickleball court update, Nancy.
Fences are going up today.
Oh, cool.
We were working on them today,
Alright.
so
Yeah, so the
fences
posts.
are, yeah,
Awesome.
fences are going up today. They should be planning on them another 10 days probably. They'll be
Okay.
planning on them. All they have to do is paint them and back, ready to play.
Fantastic. I have an update from Nathaniel with Midwest Biological Inventory. He was here, was that last month now? And I was able to tag along with him for about 30 minutes. And he's like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I thought this was going to be a horrible park because most parks just have no like ecological integrity. And so he was super excited about the stuff he was finding. There was some really uncommon stuff. We thought that we might have seen a state endangered bumblebee. So there's some cool stuff out there that I'm sure he'll continue to find, and then he'll give that report to us back whenever towards the end of the year.
That's exciting.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. Save the bees.
I bet it was a butterfly.
Eric gave me updates about the pavilion I shared with you all earlier, but he was thinking that it does have some more life in there. So if we want to pursue getting some quotes for doing some of that bathroom work to like fix those up and make them a little bit nicer, we can do that. I was thinking, somewhere within the $5,000 range, hopefully.
It's a lot. Yeah. We
Um,
should do that.
Or total.
total. I think we could probably work that within this year, but I think getting some quotes first from people. I guess what all are you envisioning for those bathrooms to make them respectable enough for use from the public? I'm assuming new flooring, probably some drywall.
New flooring, some of the paneling on the stall, the wood is like missing, the sinks are all cracked.
Okay.
Can you take the stall out? Can you take that
That
divider
that-
out?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's
that's
like-
what's
There's really no
missing.
wobbly
Wobbly.
for it.
It's, yeah, it's wobbly
I'm
there.
sure if yeah, I would think
I don't know
so.
if it's weight bearing or whatever they call it.
Would it be hard or expensive to put a drain in? Because I think,
Oh.
That
That
probably would be
actually
since
would-
it's on
Probably
cement.
more so.
yeah,
And then you got to go through the foundation. So
Yeah.
Okay.
that won't be, I feel like it needs a drain, but I mean, it's fine with
It would
that.
be
It's been
ju-
fine with one.
When we were mopping it, that was the only thing that we were like, oh man, it'd be nice if we had somewhere. Because then at one point I was like, man, I'm just mopping around mud at this point. And if we could just throw a bucket of water on there and kind of get some of this out of there, it would be a lot better.
Mhm.
But I think removing that wall, if we can,
Mhm.
would be 10 steps better.
It would
Because
be
it's just
easier to
rotten
clean.
and it's falling apart. There's a bunch of like what appears to be caulking
Mhm.
down around the bottom part.
Probably
It's-
from animals.
It's actually animals who are getting there. I actually did that. And I
Okay.
tried, and you can actually take a serrated knife. I haven't had time. I've been doing everything else there, but
Mhm.
you can actually take a serrated knife and just cut that.
So that
And
was up
cut
there
it.
to protect it from.
It was completely
Because it was-
open to the
yeah.
outside.
Okay.
It was
And
like, you
so-
could look in.
So if we could pat like new drywall on that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know, is like drywall the answer there because
know
it's
if you
gonna
could
get
should drywall
wet
some
in there?
chair.
Is that gonna rot?
There's probably some sort of waterproof paneling
I mean,
or something
Yeah.
that we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think doing the walls and removing that.
Okay.
Either that or green board would work in there too.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the toilets aren't bad. The toilets themselves
No, we
aren't
do
bad.
need a new sink in one. I'm not
The
sure.
sinks could definitely.
I'm trying to recall the lighting. Was the lighting
Oh,
like enough to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think
Yeah.
the light's bad.
It might be a good idea to add handicap accessible bars.
Yeah,
Since-
A bars, yeah.
Since you're taking out that divider,
Yeah.
now a wheelchair could go in.
That's true. It would make it.
I did put in new locks.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Oh,
There was
yeah,
no
that
locks
something-
on the doors
Nancy wrote.
inside, and I asked Jerry about that,
However-
so.
The new locks open and close, but the hole that receives the lock, it's not big enough. So I've got to mess with that too.
Okay.
I'll get that done in the next few days.
That's I think a good start then for us to start reaching out to some contractors. If anybody's familiar with some local people, we can start setting up, getting down there to get some quotes from people. I can search around too, but
Well, if we know exactly what we want,
yeah.
so we can give them all the same.
Yeah, I would say just, flooring, that divider wall, sinks, ADA accessibility, and then some sort of like waterproof wall is what I wrote down there.
Okay.
Sound like
See, the floor drops in
Yeah.
both rooms. And are we asking them to
Even
level
up
the
that
floor
floor.
or just leave it the way it is?
They'd have to level it up to do something to it. It's like maybe a 3-inch drop, you think, 2-inch, 3-inch drop?
I mean, it's possible that since the floor drops, they may be able to put the drain on the drop end and just dig into the cement a little bit to take it on out.
Okay. Yeah, we can ask around these, and we can just also be in contact if somebody's going to be down there. So, okay. Anything else with pavilion? Eric said that he's going to be mowing the loop trail down at the riverfront through the Wabash Wildlife Sanctuary area. Said his crew should be able to get that done by the end of the week. I know we had George, who was at the last meeting, said that he's been doing some work down there. And then Bob Shepard also asked me to at least have some accessibility for people to kind of get back in there. So that'll be good since some folks have been reaching out about wanting to use that space. Those were my short list of what I had down. Can anybody else think of other old business that we need to discuss before opening it up?
Obviously, Lee, did you guys talk already about the pool?
Yeah.
And that's all assigned as far as getting things done.
Yep. We're hoping by next Friday that we'll have liability insurance, and then I think we ran through your whole list that you sent in the message. The one thing that I guess I'll tell you, we don't have to figure out transportation. We're just going to do drop off and pick up at the high school.
Are they gonna be there the whole morning then?
It's from 8 to noon,
9 to 11.
So-
9 to 11 from the actual swim time, but 8 to noon at the school.
Okay, so are they gonna be playing at the school,
I think that's what Casey was saying.
like in the playground area?
She said playground or gym.
She said, Jim.
In the gym.
Okay. Well, all right, I'll get in touch with the school because we may have to have an application and the liability for the pool. There may also be a liability for
For the-
gym
Okay.
and that sort of thing. So we probably need to update the insurance guy in case.
Okay.
So let me go ahead. I'll contact the school tomorrow and ask them if there's an application we have to complete. We used to have to. And it was during the application process that you'd show your insurance.
Okay.
And then are our lifeguards hired?
Two are, and the third's already agreed to it, but we have to run that through city council, and then they're going to be official city employees
Oh, huh.
because of how, if not, then they would be contractors, and then they would have to carry their own insurance. So it's just simpler to go ahead and have them work through the city.
Okay.
Okay. Any other topics before I open it up to the public? I know we have a couple people here to present. All right, Brent, you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first here. I got 4 copies here, so I can have you guys share them here. Talking about the concept of a Attica 200. Okay, what would Attica 200 be? This is 200 years of Attica being a city. Okay, it was platted. What was it? It was platted March 19th, 1825. Okay, and we're actually 2 months older than Lafayette, a year older than Covington, a year older than the county, and so this is our 200 year. What we did back 9 years ago, the sesquicentennial, was the sesquicentennial of being a city. Okay, and so that was the 150. 1966 was 100 years, and then 2016 was the sesquicentennial 9 years ago. But this is actually, and so we're not doing anything formal, really. But what we wanted to do was take a look at. One of the questions is, and people are bringing up, well, next year is the county bicentennial, okay? And so there are a number of people that are working on. Jeff Bazar is taking care of Davis. They're doing it by townships, okay? And so what happens is there's a county group putting together a 200-year celebration of Fountain County, but it's not really focused on cities, okay? It's focused on townships, and so Logan would have to carry Attica, but there's things that are Davis and Shawnee and all that that come together that really are Attica. So that's what we were thinking of here, and the idea was to what we thought was we could get a tent, okay, get it like a 10 by 30 tent. And this will be at Heritage Days, okay? So it'd be down at the riverfront, and I've got a map in here that we'll look at in a minute. But the idea would be to have a 10 by 30 tent, have about 12 tables in there, 6 down one side, 6 down the other, okay? And those would be set up for displays. And so if you look at them, they would be the tables themselves would be 12 areas of things that we think probably would be the right kind of things to study, okay? So if you look at this page right here, if you go to the next page, okay? We had, things like come in and there's Attica history and a video, and then, Bethel's history, Underground Railroad, the Canal era, Ravine Park would be one that we would have, George Hay, the 1900s, the businesses, Harrison Steel could have a table, post and brick, architecture and arts, education. It's fascinating. That 100 years ago, 1927, Attica High School had 1,000 students. The Attica system had 1,000 students in 1927. We had one of the best high schools in the entire state and everything. So it was interesting histories there. Then one on on churches. What's happened with the churches, the old church, and then that, and then one called maybe Attica Happenings, looking at what's Main Street doing, what's coming out of Wega, what's coming out from Badlands or the city plan or something like that. So it could be kind of a futures aspect there. And then around it, we would try to do, okay, so those would be pretty much like a, maybe with a 5-foot table, people would be able to put out a number of things about that topic. And, but it's going to be kind of like a museum then, going around inside a museum. So we thought, well, could we do some things that would make it, kind of more lively too? We went back to the 9 years ago, we had brick making. I don't know if any of you remember that or not back then, but we made some brick. We were grinding grain. Jeff Bazar and his friends actually were threshing grain with a fanning mill. Limestone was supposed to be there. It didn't. I ran out of people. We didn't have a big thing on limestone, but we were turning it into whitewash. We were going to actually do a play on Tom Sawyer, with the whitewash and everything like that. And then Harrison, of course, did their thing with making showing how they were doing the sand molds of of the foundry. So those, we thought we could try to bring those back again. Okay, I had a number of them going, still working some of them. And then down the green ones down at the bottom here, what would I call would be almost like working models or things that we could do. And this is what I wanted to really talk to the park board about, other than letting you guys see. This part, Attica 200, is and Jake and I are trying to handle, but it's within John Hunt's, Heritage Days overall thing. Okay, but we're talking about just things like a working model of a canal lock. Show people what I have one here. I'm going to put up on the table in a minute. My brother has the auger. I don't know if you remember, they bored the original city water was wooden pipes that were bored out. Okay, and so we have an auger that kids could kind of take a turn on, a log or something like that. And then what we thought about, what I want to talk about here too, is a working model of the lion's head. Okay, and what this means is that if we'll get over there here. Let me flip the next page. So keep going here. This is what I walked the area with John Hunt and with Jake Mead, and what they're thinking, they've got big plans, for Heritage Days. Is looking at, a rodeo on Sunday. They've got carnival coming in. They've got vendors. They've got soundstage, festival seating, petting zoo, and some monster truck stuff. And so there's a lot planned there. I don't know how much it's been checked out with everybody yet, but that's just what I'm hearing. What I would do is I would want to try to put the Attica 200 grouping there. This is the next page here, this one, if you want to see where things are, but try to be right up by the towpath is what I'm thinking. Okay, it would be up, so it'd be up really in front of the pavilion. Okay, just to try to be right there by where it was happening by lock 35 or whatever. Okay, and then the next one is this is a concept. Okay, all these things are concepts right now. Nothing's locked in, but what we would. Actually, now the way the lion's head sits there, it lays in the bank there, out. It was bumped out of the retaining pond or whatever it was there, and so it's on its side there, but it's about 3/4 of it still there. Okay, and so if you were to flip it up, on upright, what we're thinking is, and I've talked with Nathan Moss about this and all, and wanted to see what you guys thought. Obviously, as park board, but we thought we could set this up down there right as people come in and actually hook up, have water come out of it and have it set up, part of it would like, have to look like that. You'd have to support it somehow, but you could actually, people could see then the actual, lion's head. And then of course, Nathan, I know you guys talk about plans about what to do on futures with that. Okay. And so it could be a way to highlight, that we want to do more with it, or, we could even set up, GoFundMe's or, different things, crowdsourcings and things like that to raise some funds. And it would certainly build some awareness on the park, that not a lot of people know about it, but this would be a way to actually see it, there. The idea would be then to actually, and Nathan says he's willing to jump in, however, but it would be to actually, whether we'd have to lift it up or we'd have to put it on a sled and kind of drag it out, but you'd get it out of there and then you would get it up on a truck, and then you would, with forklift truck, whatever, you would figure out how to set it up down at the park.
So you're talking of using the actual instead of recreation, because I know we have the mold.
Yes, no, and he has that, so he's still thinking about that, but this is just for the Heritage Days, just for Attica 200.
Okay.
So now what you could do is if people got sentimental about it, you could actually probably cast it, into a memorial or something. It's still there, and so that could be put somewhere in the park if you wanted to show the old one. I'm not sure if another piece of it is beside it or not. That's what we've got to kind of look at. But certainly you could do that much of it. It would look like that. So that would be kind of, and that would be again something novel, something interesting, about the history thing, not just let's go look at some displays, whatever. The second one then that we're thinking about is, and this one would be, I'll pop him up here. Well, I'll turn him on the side. I guess it's easier to see. This is one I was just playing with. This is a model of a lock. Okay, and your page there shows a little bit more about it. But the way that they worked is it's really fascinating. There were no pumps, or anything. They actually, what they did was they flowed a stream our part, the part between Lafayette and Attica, was fed by Weah Creek up there by Shadeland. Okay, so Weah Creek flowed into the canal, and the canal was set at the whole length of them, all from at the East Coast out down to the Ohio. They were set to flow at about a half a mile per hour. The water. Okay, they all had a flow, so they didn't use river water. They were all stream water. They all flowed at about a half a mile per hour. And what they did was they then went in, excuse me, they went into I put this one here as being like this is the Lafayette Inn, let's say. Okay, so it's higher. Okay, it's 6 foot. It was a 6 foot drop at Attica. Okay, and so it would come in here, and then you'd have the central chamber, where you'd fill it up, and then you'd float across to that one, and then that would drop down, and then it would come out the lower one. Okay, so that's what the gates basically did, and with that half, but it all did it just through the flow of the water, flowing, leaking kind of through, or opening the gates to get the middle chamber, and then middle chamber fills up, and then you float over, and then you open the bottom one, all that, and then so I've tried pumping water through it to see. I don't have it very tight right now, but it does work. It does fill up and drop down and everything like that. Well, certainly we'll do something like this at a minimum, okay, at the table or outside there. Maybe we have it, on the outside part of the a tent or something, doing that. But I want to bring up the idea. This is radical, but but just want to see what we think is. If you go back to the map, go back to the map for a second. Okay, where is it there? Okay, so. If we pop right there at the, I forget what that's Canal Street, I think it is. It's that little one over there. But the towpath goes down in the green, right? It's there, and then the Lock 35 would be right at where that is. Okay, and actually the towpath is about 3 or 4 feet higher than it slopes down, but then if you put a lock there, what I'm playing around with the idea is, if you guys would approve it, or we went forward somehow, would it be put in make it about 4 foot wide or so. If you go over to the picture of the lock, maybe make it 4 foot wide, maybe, and you basically do it out of 3/4 plywood with 2x4s, reinforced, then coat it with something, some kind of, paint or whatever that would make it waterproof, because you're only doing it for just a day and a half or something. This is not a permanent thing that's going in or anything like that. And you could then actually you'd have to set some kind of little reservoir under it to kind of recirculate the water through it and everything. But you could even have a little, maybe, okay, so let's say you went like maybe 20 feet, where you took 4x8s, 5 4x8s, on one side, 5 on the other, underneath, ends, whatever, and then some gates in between. You could theoretically maybe do a drop of maybe have 5 foot of water on the upper end and 1 foot on the lower, and maybe do like a 3 foot drop or something. Pretty, nothing radical or anything like that. And you could actually, in the middle section, you could kind of do rods and put a floating table, or a thing. So the boat's not just coming in and falling over in 5 feet of water, it actually could be sitting on something that could go down with it, and then go back up or whatever. So we could either have it just, exhibiting it. I mean, I'd love to even get to the point where if we really felt we could get it down, even to where, a child and a mom or somebody could, sit in the thing and, feel that and go down. Now that would be exciting. That may be, a bigger gap we can, but this is an idea, and I just wanted to bounce it off you guys to see if there was any it would certainly take major park and probably city approval. Then we got next steps that are going on, things that what I'm trying to do is basically the 12 things, and even like this canal idea would be, I'm looking for a team leader, like people who would be willing to, man the table of the information, or one of the outside things, and could get their group of friends together and to do it, because, it's not just a one person thing. I have about 5 out of the 12 staffed already, so people are, interested in signing on. and I've got more people to talk to. I talked with Mayor Grant and all, and he's excited about, trying to see what we could do with it. But just wanted to bounce it off you here. This is and I brought stuff too, just to show kind of what for Ravine Park. There is so much material already for all 12 of these areas, and my mom, she's 94 now, and she's done a lot of these through different things, but there's all kinds of stuff that could be, that anybody who wanted to help out and said, I don't have enough material to bring to this, there's material out there that could be pulled together to help make a different one if people wanted to.
So we could, certainly maybe even put a Facebook post out on the parks page to call out for volunteers if anybody wants to.
That would be great. I was even thinking, there's crazy things like, what I'd love to do would be like to do a Facebook on, I don't know how many have seen the Wicker book, the thing on James, how is it? I can't think of Wicker's name right now. He's the guy who's written the most about Attica. He's got fascinating stories all through. It's a little orange book. I should have brought one. I didn't. But he originally wrote it as postings in the paper. They were serial, postings in the paper, and we could almost do those reproduce some of those in the time up to the 200. We got 3 months or so, and kind of tell stories about Attica and get people's interest built up and things like that. But I love your idea of being able to go for volunteers and how. Particularly you guys as Ravine Park, if we want that to be one of the central tables, and how that might come to be.
Certainly.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So do you have these things posted anywhere?
No, not yet. So we're just really at the concept stage. I just wanted to bounce stuff off, and if there's anything that was so too much, and people say time out, we can't do that.
Oh, it's wonderful ideas.
Yeah. So I'm just what I'm going to do is. On the back page there, what I'm going to do is I'm sending stuff out to people that I know might be potential team leaders, okay? And what I'll do is I'll call a meeting at a certain point when we've got a number of people that are kind of interested, and then we'll kick it off, and we'll talk about it more and everything like that and all. But I don't have, you're right, I don't have anything like getting back to me or anything like that. I need to probably post somewhere, but this is. I probably need to post, whether it's on yours or whatever, Attica 200, this stuff. Yeah. Haven't done that yet. Right now, it's just all been in the.
Well, we wouldn't want to take credit for what you've done, but to have a platform for you, and to have a platform on our Facebook for what you're
doing. That would be great. No, because it's park. It's classic right in there with you guys doing it. So you would be the venue of, you could say landmarks or some, might have some pieces. Everybody, so a lot of them have pieces, but it's in the park. It's it's celebrating that. A number of the things would have to be things that would be, either the Lion's Head or the Lock or whatever would all be park type of ownership.
Awesome.
I will, well, then I can talk to Justin more about, or you or whoever, about how you guys want to do it, because love to get, and we've got pictures and things. We could do a lot of stuff, from previous, the sesquicentennial, and, we've got kids making brick. We've got kids doing all kinds of things. And
awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much, Brent.
Okay.
And then, I'll just be in touch with you, and then we can move forward from that. And we got a little bit of time before the Heritage Days.
Yes, we've got not a lot of time, but we still have time to do it right, I think.
For sure. Awesome. Anything else on that topic from anybody?
Just got me thinking about the Heritage Days. Do you hear any more about the playground going in?
I have not heard anything yet, no.
I thought they were going to try to get it before Heritage Days, but I haven't heard any more now.
I have not heard any updates from Larry. Cool. Michelle?
Okay. I have it 7 o'clock, so I will be very fast.
Should have you go first.
That's fine. So I'm Michelle Stuckey. I'm the director of the Warren County Community Foundation. Dale White and I are working on a project. We got a $3 million Lilly Endowment grant for the Wabash River Blueway project, Fountain, Warren, and Vermilion. We were dividing and conquering tonight because there's more than one meeting going on. But we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the kayak kiosk that we're thinking about doing. So I've already presented to Williamsport and the Warren County Commissioners, but I just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were and see if you felt comfortable with us taking the concept to the city meeting next Monday at 6 or whatever. So with the Blue Way money, the money's broken up in a lot of different categories and then spread across the 3 counties. So we've got an education component, arts and culture component. So I'm I have the checkbook, but also like Dale, I try to defer to what he wants for Fountain and Vermilion, and then we try to agree in general. But Warren County is the fiduciary, like we write the checks for all the projects. But there is a mural piece, so I know that they're working on a few projects in Vermilion County right now, but we didn't start anything here because the permitting with the state highway department is a little bit more tricky to get a mural project on, like a piling from like 41 that goes down into the water, but we do have that permitting work now. So, this grant is stretched over a 5-year period. The mural part of it's like a 2-year. We're trying to do all of the murals or sculptures or things like that in a 2-year period. There's educational components that we'll be rolling out. There's we can make improvements at existing launch areas. So if there's something specific that you guys have in mind for down by the river, we could work with you guys on seeing if that fits into our budget. If there's something that you guys want, so you wouldn't have to use your park board money, that you could potentially use Blue Way money. We're trying to put some new launches in Fountain County. So like in Warren County, we're working on a new launch on Big Pine Creek. And then in Vermilion County, we're working on a new launch in Eugene. But in Fountain County, that same amount of money is allotted to making the railroad bridge that goes over in Covington into a pedestrian bridge. So about $500,000 of the grant is going to go towards that, so people can go as a pedestrian across the river. But the reason why I'm here tonight with this last 7 minutes is the kayak kiosk program. This is what they look like. So we would use the grant money to purchase the kayak kiosks. And then the nice thing about them is it's self-checkout. So the person goes to the kiosk, uses a QR code, or scans it, and then puts in all their information, signs a waiver right there on the phone, and then it opens for them. So it uses solar to be able to do that, to be able to have enough energy to just pop open that lock. And then a person's trip ends once they, like from a financial piece, it ends once they put their kayak, the life jacket, and the paddle back into the kiosk, take a photo of that and send it. So if something didn't get put back in there, like the life jacket, for example, then remotely they would make that locked so that nobody could check that one out until they got back to maintain it. Part of what the first 5 years of the grant is going to cover, so Rent.Fund is in about 200 places around the United States now. They're working with 9. They already have kiosks in 9 places in Indiana. I think the closest one is France Park in Logansport. Currently, most of their all of their spots are somewhere point A to point A. So like a lake, you get out of the same kiosk, you go around, you put back into the same kiosk, or slow moving rivers where you paddle downstream and then you paddle back upstream. That's not really an option on the Big Pine, the Wabash, or the Big Vermilion. So we're the first organization that they've worked with on the concept of point A to point B. So for example, we would have something like a 4 kayak kiosk maybe on Big Pine and an 8 kiosk in Attica, if you guys like the idea. 4 would be empty so that they could accept those 4 from Big Pine, and 4 would have kayaks in them so that they could go downriver. So right now, it's really too long for most people to go all the way to Covington from Attica, depending on the water flow. But it's a short little family adventure just to Williamsport, so that a person could go from Big Pine onto the Wabash into Williamsport, or they could go from Big Pine to Attica, or they go from Attica to Williamsport. We're working on trying to acquire, like long term, get more stops so that we have access points more like every 5 miles. But right now that's not the case on the Wabash. So the nice things about the kiosks is all the customer service is handled by Rent.Fund company. The grant would be what's paying for those kiosks. Usually it's a city or town that buys them initially, and then it's a revenue share 50-50 on the returns. So that's how cities and counties get their money back. For us, since there was no cost to anyone in the first place because it was a grant, we would save back that money so that if we want to continue the program after the 5-year grant, we already own the kiosks, but we would still have to, because of our point A to point B, that rent.fund worker who's the one that's repositioning them, we would still have to be paying that person. Right now, paying that person would be part of what's covered by the grant. So most of the rentals are $20 to $25 for a segment or for a time slot on a lake. You can also get a $99 annual membership, which allows you 2 hours at any place in the U.S. unlimited. So any place that they've got one. So if you show up at France Park and you're a $99 annual member, you can get a 2-hour rental there as part of it. And then we would get a little portion of that because they are from our area and sign up for it, even though they're using that one, and vice versa if someone from there uses ours. The liability insurance is held by rent.fund, so they add the municipality onto theirs. But they, so far, like the Warren County attorneys have looked at those documents and are okay with it. And then we would present those to whoever you guys wanted to show those to. So really just a preliminary introduction to the concept to answer any questions you might have, see if you feel comfortable with it. We would probably be looking towards, they can withstand 3 feet of standing water for long term for flooding situations. But so with that being said, we would probably want to put the kayaks, if we had it down by the river, up at where the little pavilion is. That in probably, strap it onto one of the poles. So if the water is sustained long term, the whole thing's not going to float away. But so
Super neat.
that was a whirlwind, but we want to get more people on the waterways.
Yeah.
So that's the big idea. Obviously, it doesn't address the issue of you still have to figure out putting a vehicle at the other end. Another phase someday that we're not close to ready for yet, but we did put into the grant is you kayak one way and then you bike back and have a bike share at the other end. The roads currently aren't really that safe for that, so we'd have to figure out what that looks like from a Shero or, making sure that if we only put those bike back at really safe spots to do that. But so right now, at least if you don't have a kayak, it lets you get out on the water. You still have the positioning of your vehicles, but that's always an issue anyway. So that's that. I'd be happy to entertain any questions about it and then see what your guys' comfort level is with us presenting it at the city council level.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no monetary stuff from our end.
No.
So I think it's a great idea to get more folks out on the water. And and they sign the waiver, so there's no liability from the municipality.
Right. I mean, so if anything happens, they always sue, no matter whether they've signed the waiver or not. But the liability insurance policy of $1 million per incident or $5 million aggregate is held by rent.fund. Knock on wood, they haven't had a suit yet, but in the case that happens, they will sue. But part of what they cover is the litigation fee. So if somebody gets sued, they're going to have the policy, but they're also going to litigate on whatever entities they have. So.
No, I think it's great. I think if anybody has anything else, but I would say move forward with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have the city council.
Well, yep. Really appreciate it. Sorry to run, but off to the next thing. But I'm actually leaving for Alaska at the end of the week. But my college intern's very aware of this, and so he's going to present because Dale already has another meeting next Monday as well. So just trying to get to 3 counties every meeting for everything that we already do besides the Blue Way project. But thank you guys for your time.
Yeah. Have fun in Alaska, Michelle.
We'll do.
Yeah, it's Stucky. STKUI. That might be a senior. I'm not sure.
That's good news about being able to do some work with the launch.
Yeah, we can definitely brainstorm, and with 5 years of funding period, that gives us a little leeway to really get our ducks in the row if there's anything that we want to work through on that. Awesome. Anything else? Denise, do you have anything you want to share with the public? Alva, you want to share anything? Okay, well, with that, I will end the meeting. We're at 7:01. Our next meeting is July 1st. It'll be 6 o'clock here. Awesome.
I'll second it.
Nancy seconds, meeting's adjourned.